for a second. So I'm going to stand because they said they can only see the back of my head. Hey guys, we're just getting started, waiting for a lot of the administrators to come down and join us in the boardroom or log on as panelists. But if you could start, just jump in the chat and introduce yourself. We're going to save the chat, and then this is also recording, so it'll be sent out additionally once the recording is finished. But welcome, guys. We're really excited to give you an update. I feel very out of frame.
If I sit here, they can't see.
Melissa, did you send Jose the link?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Everybody, we're up to about 400 people so far. So if you want to just drop your name and building in the chat, we're going to be saving that so we know who was here today, but also We are recording this session that'll be sent out later. Thank you. Okay. Hey, everybody, we wanted to give you one more quick update. We're up to just about 500 teachers. We were expecting about 600, so we're going to give it another minute or two to let people trickle in, and then we will get started with Superintendent Parker. Mr. Parker, does that sound good? I'm going to mute this machine too. Another minute or so.
So when you unmute.
Yes, we're unmuted now.
Okay, great. Thank you everyone for Zooming in with us today. Thank you for your flexibility and your patience. We're going to get started with Mr. Parker and then we'll move through our agenda as we have planned for the day. So Mr. Parker.
Good morning, everyone. I will be absolutely brief. There is a very hefty agenda for this morning, so I want you to have as much time as possible. I want to thank you again for taking time out of your schedule to connect with us today. As we've done since the beginning of the process, we want to make sure that we give you as much information as we have as soon as we have it. There are a number of updates as it relates to the return to school and what that's going to look like and feel like for our staff, our students, as well as our families. There has been a lot of work from the people that are sitting in this room around the table, as well as a number of your colleagues that are on the call with you right now in developing the plans and processes. So we have a really solid, succinct, high quality learning environment for all of our students as we return to school here in just a few days. So thank you. I'm excited to listen and hear this again along with you, and looking forward to seeing you all on the first day of school. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Parker. Before we jump in, I just want to introduce our team as a whole. We have our academic team here. We have members of our operations team, HR, facilities, and food services. And Jen Ramos, our deputy, as you all know, and then myself, we have representatives from IT here as well. The goal was to make sure that we had the folks on the call that could provide any additional guidance or information as we move through the agenda. And once again, thank you for joining us today. We know that this was originally intended for Monday, and if you aren't aware, there was a national, Zoom was down nationally. And by the time it was up, and I don't even remember what time it went up, but it was well after the time that allowed us to comfortably still participate in our Zoom. And then the Wednesday session we postponed as well, because there were some critical answers that we knew we did not have for you all, and felt that we wanted our meetings to be meaningful and to be able to give you concrete answers. And so that's the reason for postponing until today. And so we'll move through our most recent update that was shared with our board and our community last night. And while we're moving through that, you'll hear from members from our different teams so that you're able to get those answers and ask some questions using the chat as we move through this hour efficiently. So Melissa, if you could bring up the
There we go.
Why is it off center?
I don't know. All right.
Is it going to forever live in the left-hand corner, or?
No, it's there seeing, it shows up a little bit differently on this monitor.
What does it look like on here? Okay, so here are the areas of our update. First and foremost, staffing and professional development. We'll talk to you about some of the outreach and support that our team has been busy working and conducting on behalf of our students and families and our teachers. A partnership that we're highlighting this month just because it's progressed that way, not because it's more beneficial than any of our other partnerships, but absolutely a value add for our students as we move through this virtual environment. We'll give you some updates to our parent university and share that link, technology, and last night we gave an update on special education. That is not a part of this update today. However, Mr. Sickett is here to field any questions, and there's additional information that was shared last night that is now on our website in terms of expectations for SPED program, faculty and staff, and any other specific operational information. We're still on the title side.
Why? It's not advancing?
No.
No.
Stop share. to advance now.
Still the title slide.
Is there a way to do presentation mode?
Yeah.
Maybe you need to stop.
Yeah, I've completely stopped sharing.
I don't think you have it fully open. It says protected view. You have to do that and then resume your slideshow. That might help.
Sorry, guys. All right, so now.
There you go.
Now is it displaying, miss? You good? All right, thank you guys. Sorry about that.
Can you go back? Okay, yeah. That's not the right PowerPoint.
Okay.
You know what, leave it here, I'll just go. Okay, so let's just jump into, it might be, let me just go.
Okay.
Let's jump into staffing. So recently, a letter was shared with all staff on our staffing model and how we intend to move our faculty into the buildings, and also what constitutes as essential faculty. I'm sorry, I keep saying faculty as if I'm in higher ed, but yes, essential staff and faculty and other operational information. But we wanted you to know that we were able to make those decisions based on a questionnaire that we sent out to all of our staff. That questionnaire went out, I think last week, I don't know if that's went out last week. Out of our 2,400 employees, we had 1,170 responses. 830 of those came from teachers. And we simply asked a few questions. The first one is it possible to do your job virtually? And out of that, you can see the breakdown there. 1,108 responded yes. The no's were about 139. And those are primarily our custodians, our security staff, food services, all of those folks who are not able to complete their requisite job duties virtually. On the next slide, we wanted to ask a different question. What is your preference? Again, we realize that information is flowing, although it's flowing as fast as we can get it out to you all. There is some delay just because there needs to be processing time and decision-making at multiple levels throughout the district. And so we wanted to give a preference or an opportunity for those staff who are able to work virtually to be able to opt in, if you will. And so when we asked that question, out of all the staff that responded, about 707 responded that they would prefer to telework during this first quarter. With, you mean you can't see?
We're getting numerous chats right now. They can't see the screen. They can't see the slides.
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. It was just
No, it's okay.
more rapid. There, now you're fine.
Yeah.
And now it's on the correct. Do you want me to jump to the next one?
No, I want to finish this one. Okay, so it seems like now we have our slides caught up with the conversation. So I'll just go over this slide again. We asked the question, what was the preference in terms of your working scenario, whether teleworking or reporting to the building was an option. Here we had about 707 staff members respond that they would opt into teleworking. And out of that 707, approximately 574 or 84 were teachers. And then for reporting to building, you can see the numbers much lower at 368. And there was about 266 teachers that indicated they were ready to report to the building. And so this information is guiding our re-entry into our buildings and our sustainability, although temporarily, for the teleworking scenarios. You now have the letter from HR that went out to provide further guidance and information on what this looks like. I would also advise you all to reach out to your principals. The individuals who responded in the survey their information was given to every principal according to their staff that indicated they wanted to telework or report to a building. So Cleveland got all their data points, Moser got all of their data points, and that is how principals are subsequently building out their re-entry into the building for our staff. And so while you have this district information, you have your HR information, you also have your principal as an informational point as well. Now we're going to move into a brief update on where we are with professional development. Just a reminder, we began to offer professional development sessions July 28th. And that offering for our teachers was solely based on what we heard from our teacher groups, that there were some folks that wanted to get an early start and be exposed and get acclimated with the systems that we're using early. And so we made sure that our team here worked diligently to be able to meet and honor that request. As a result, from July 28th until just yesterday, August 27th, we've conducted 47 individual professional development sessions that range from unique, accelerate, Edgenuity, some general virtual campus navigation topics that were developed by Ed Elements, and other sessions. Out of those 47 sessions, we had approximately 2,161 participants. That includes principals, assistant principals, other members of Act 93, but it also includes a significant number of teachers as well. So we wanted to share that information, extend a heartfelt thank you to those teachers who have been involved and continue to support us in this critical work, continue to be agile and flexible as we move into this time of uncertainty. So overall, there's an update on our professional development. And in our next slide, we have some more specific breakdowns. This was shared yesterday afternoon, and this is more of a detailed slide, if you will, that just gives you some of those titles and then specifically broke down the groups as well. Anything the academic team want to add to this slide? Okay, we can advance this slide. Next, if you recall in previous updates, we talked about this notion of outreach and support and making sure that as we are moving into this virtual campus, we are bringing our community along with us and not just talking at them or to them, but really engaged elbow to elbow and educating them on what it is we're trying to do and how we need their support. To date, we've had 60 or more families represented in a number of parent sessions and working groups that we've been holding in this group. That spans the continuum from special ed to student services, and forthcoming, I believe next week, we have sessions that our academic team is pushing out for families as well. And I'll pause for a second because I think you guys, is there anything you want to add here?
About the family sessions, the family sessions will be to support Accelerate. Currently, we have 5 sessions for parent orientation scheduled, a mixture of daytime and evening sessions to accommodate as many families as possible in their working schedules. And 4 out of 5 of those currently scheduled sessions have a bilingual facilitator. So we're very pleased to be able to offer that to our families and to help sort of promote some of the processes of the Accelerate program and hopefully provide a bit of a lift off of our teaching staff so that you don't feel like you have to do all of the teaching yourself. Next one.
Great. And just to add to that, those sessions that Mrs. Bryant just spoke to, those numbers are not included here. That's in addition to what you see here reflected on the screen. Additionally, we've been working very hard to get the word out and partner even more with our community organizations within the Allentown city limits. That includes partnership with 84 child care centers that we know our families are using and will continue to use during this closure period in this virtual time. We know that because our family survey left an option for our families to tell us exactly what child care centers they were using. So in addition to distributing our materials, and by materials, I'll tell you that we've had posters created with QR codes so that our families can get a picture or do whatever it is you do with a QR code, I'm still learning, and be connected directly to our parent university, which we are creating as a hub of information for any family with any type of student they would need information on. Other local agencies, Promise Neighborhood, Communities in Schools. We have a task force that many of our local agencies are a part of. We continue to update them and push our materials and resources out to those spaces as well. I'll also add, and you'll hear more about it from our Director of Food Services, we're in connection with those child care centers to ensure that those centers are equipped to feed our students and to provide the proper conditions for learning for them while they're in their care. Next slide. The Allentown Public Library reached out to support some of our English language arts work and through K-12 English and other subjects with our students by providing library access for all. And to do that, Dr. B and his team have provided the library with clean data, which means data that has all unique identifiers removed except for the address, so that our families can receive grade level appropriate library cards. So think of when you get postcards mailed to your home that say resident, but then list your address. These library cards will be sent to the homes of our students, and they will say student grade 4 with their address, or student grade 5. That's the only identifier, is the grade level. And so we're happy to promote this partnership because it gives our district an added resource for our students. You can see the informational sheet that's included there. The library has developed online resources to support homework aid. They have some e-resources they're spelling out. I think they also have Power Library that they're promoting as well. And our Director of Literacy is currently working with the Director of the Library to better partner and better have some synergy between this partnership so that we're able to have that additional value add for our students. So our parent university, and we'll have Melissa take a moment to transition to the website while I speak to some of the items here. We continue to update our parent university, as I mentioned, so that it can actually serve as a hub of user-friendly information for our families. We understand that there are parts that still need to be translated, but as an initial resource, it is definitely shaping up to be very valuable. On our parent university website, we have grade levels and programs broken out.
Missy, I'm not sharing, am I?
Elementary.
Oh, good.
Good.
Whew.
Yes.
Dr. Brown, it's there. You're just not seeing it on the screen, but it's there. Sorry.
I need to see it to talk to you. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know why it's not on the big screen.
thank you, Brian.
Sorry.
And so as you can see on our virtual campus, you can see that folks can navigate by using the titles along the side, or can you still try to work together up there? Or use the thumbnails in the center of the page. So there's one page that is absolutely built out for now.
They're not seeing any of this. It's okay.
We're transitioning now because I can't navigate through it.
Yeah. Just tell me where you want me to click.
Click under elementary. Okay, so
Elementary.
now it went away.
You still saying elementary?
You see elementary?
Yes, do you?
So as we click through elementary, you can see an example of a daily schedule.
Should be loading. There it is.
Yeah,
Loading.
I can see it here. Or not.
There it is.
Okay. So this is an example of a high-level district schedule, but I'm going to pause for a second for Jen Bryant to jump in and explain what we're looking at and how it's user-friendly for you all as well as our family.
Yes, so this schedule that you see is also what our parents see on the district website for them to get a feel for sort of the broad level expectations of successfully participating in a school day moving forward in our 2020-2021 school year. We've really made some adjustments from the spring. Remember, the spring came as a surprise to all of us. And while we're still all obviously trying to navigate what's going on and learning the technology, we want to try to do our best to communicate some of those expectations for our families, but also for our teachers. And part of this schedule is built upon some of the feedback that came from teachers and families saying that they wished that there were some more real-time contacts embedded throughout the day to stay engaged with students. So we've tried to listen to as many stakeholders as possible in designing this. And then the other piece is obviously that balance with curricular expectations. So in looking at some of the parameters that Accelerate establishes as far as time needed in each content area in order to move through successfully, we took a look at the schedule and we worked also with building principals, a team of building principals, to sort of break the day apart for students. So beginning every day with a morning meeting to try to touch base with as many students that you can get engaged as possible, moving into language arts. And you know, with language arts and math, as far as the elementary schedule is concerned, we've always had block scheduling there. So you will see that there is a larger amount of time to sort of emulate that block scheduling that would be typical in our brick and mortar setting. We have part of that language arts, 30 minutes devoted to that time on computer for students to have that learning that they're moving through on Accelerate through that coursework. And then 45 minutes to be used by the teacher to do what may be some whole group meets with students, to do small group rotations through that and do some individualized instruction as well for students. So this is all about really trying to build in the time and the space for teachers to do their best to replicate what was the feel and the consistency and the likes of a traditional brick and mortar schedule. And we're just going to use Zoom and Zoom breakout rooms to try to reach our students in that way. The schedule is also dotted with brain breaks for students. As you move down and take a review of math, very similar to ELA, again, we're taking that block and breaking it into components to promote engagement and to promote time with teacher, to check for that engagement and understanding. Lunch is a little bit longer than typical, and that sort of fits into lunch procedures. We want to make sure students have enough time to eat their lunch and be nourished for the rest of the day, but also they may be traveling to school to pick it up on a given day, and we want to ensure that there's enough time to do so. Science and social studies are also put in the schedule and additional brain breaks. You will still have specials and time for intervention and enrichment as part of this schedule. And again, this is that broad communication broken down by subject, time on task, and some of the ways in which you will use programs to utilize this type of instruction. You will find, if it has not already been communicated to you, that your building principals took this basic premise and made building specific, grade level specific schedules to help support you. And in that way, you will experience your typical rotation of specials coming throughout the day. We know with only so many specialists, we can't have everyone at the same time of day. So there are specific schedules that support specific grade levels and buildings. And if they have not already done so, your principals will communicate those soon with the guidance necessary for you to understand. And our hope is that at the end of the day, we would be able to again touch base with all or the majority of students for another 10-minute afternoon meeting where you check on understanding, set intentions for the next day, and the remainder 30 minutes of the day will also be that student check-in time and also family check-in time. So we tried to do our best to replicate what would be a natural schedule so that you kind of have some comfort with this.
Back out. And then back to the PowerPoint.
No, I was trying to. I guess I do need that back. Can you go back out to the how-tos?
The how-to videos.
So that was an example of the elementary schedule. If you toggle through middle and high, you'll also see schedules there. We also wanted to share some of the how-to videos that have been posted. A lot of our teachers and community partners have gotten together and put some videos here that we will be using for our families. As you can see, we're going from very basic and introductory, even though some families may already be familiar with Class Dojo, but we want to make sure that any parent can use this as a resource. How to create a free email address. If you scroll back up, please. How to select an internet browser. And there will continue to be sessions held here. I'm not sure where the recorded special ed parent sessions live. Have they been uploaded yet?
I'm working on that. I need to get them on this page still. Yes.
There will also be recordings from any of our parent support sessions or training sessions that will be uploaded to this space as well. So we have some in the queue from special ed. We will have some from our ESOL department. And again, this is a huge load of work, and we have one person in the communications department. So if any of you all would like to volunteer to support with this work, we definitely appreciate it. But we're uploading and getting things updated as fast as we can. Again, if you look through alternative ed or middle school, well, I don't know if you want to go over a middle school schedule well, or
Just a little bit, yeah.
yeah. Mr. Sang will walk through a middle school schedule as well.
There we go.
Good morning, everyone. Just a couple big highlights as far as the middle school schedule. This was also made in conjunction and planning with our middle school principals, our middle school virtual working groups, and the central office academic team. It was made to support our school improvement plans, and it was meant to match up as close as we could to a brick and mortar schedule. Obviously not exact, but to provide that continuity and structure for our students. Similar to the elementary model, we do open with a morning meeting. All of our middle schools have established the importance as a priority in their school improvement plans of building that school culture and climate. That is an opportunity for our teachers and for our staff to make those connections with students, to check in with them daily. And then you'll see throughout the day the rotation between real-time sessions and anytime sessions to accommodate students the ability to work within the Edgenuity platform, as well as work into more small group settings and individualized settings, learning support, ESOL in real-time sessions as well.
You good? Okay. Back out on that. Do we want to jump back to the PowerPoint, or are we okay? Is there anything else?
On this page, you'll also have communications for our families and our internal food banks that will be in operation during our first quarter. We will make sure that that information is here for our families as well. So we'll go back to the PowerPoint now.
Is it shared now, Miss?
It looks like it's loading, but it's not up yet.
End of slideshow for me. Technology?
So as far as technology, the update that we have for you here is that the district has acquired Zoom licenses for our instructional staff. Many of you have been participating in the Ed Elements trainings where they specifically walk you through using the small group using breakout rooms for small groups, instruction and other supports. We want you to know that you will have those features available to you through Zoom when you begin on September 1. You will also have these other features that are listed here: annotation, a live virtual assistant, simultaneous translation, and the other features as listed there. Know that we will continue to offer professional development and how to use these features to best augment the classroom. We do have Jose Rivera on the line to answer any questions about what the Zoom licensing will look like. You will receive your login September 1. Until that time, we continue to offer you the trainings from Ed Elements and invite you to familiarize yourself with the Zoom platform as you may. What else did I want to say about Zoom licenses? Is there anything else we want to add about those? Okay.
Jose is actually on the phone with Zoom right now, so Sean is on in case there are questions, just
Okay.
minute by minute.
Hello. So I just wanted to say that we are currently working on the Zoom licenses as we speak. As Jen said, Jose is actually on the phone with Zoom at the moment. We are going to be setting up SSO, so that way their login will be their ASD username and password, just like every other platform we have. And we're currently working on getting documentation together to send out.
Thank you so much. But know that our IT team has been working very diligently to ensure that our instructional staff have exactly what they need upon the return to school on the 1st. Is Brandy on? Because we were going to walk through a secondary schedule and lead into PD.
Yes, she is on. Yes,
Okay.
I'm on.
Okay. Let me pause here for a second before we continue with technology. Can we go back? Let's show them the professional development learning management system.
Okay.
Maybe let Brandy share her screen. Can you do that, Brandy, or we can't do that?
Yeah, Brandy, can you see if you can?
Yeah, I have my screen up and running. I can, oh no, it says it's disabled.
Yeah, so if I click that little arrow mark by the share screen button. And you should be able to say all participants can share.
I don't know what I'm in anymore. I don't see where my screen is shared to unshare. Screen sharing has stopped. Okay. Brandy, can you try it again?
You're good.
Got it.
Yeah.
Great. So one of the things we wanted to ensure is that even if we had teachers that were able to volunteer early on to participate in PD, we still wanted to be able to offer teachers who weren't able to volunteer an opportunity to tap in to the acquisition of that new knowledge. And if you can scroll back up. One of the key takeaways at the top of this is continuing to push out our instructional framework. Just as we were pushing this out, COVID broke. And so you'll begin to see this framework, you'll begin to hear it, and definitely see it embedded in much more of the work as we process and move forward. But I'll kick this over to Brandy, but know that the whole idea of a learning organization is exactly what we want to move into for our adult learners. We want anytime, anywhere learning for students, so we want anytime, anywhere learning for adults as well. Go ahead, Brandy.
Okay. So we developed the Professional Development Resource Center to be able to offer a resource that you can go back to after getting the PD that is necessary. And we've started to build it out with our instructional framework. And when you click on the resources at the bottom, it takes you to the next page, the teacher resource page here. And there are key resources that have been talked about in all of the professional developments that we've had. Some of them have offered extra resources. So we've been putting those in there. And then as you follow the page down, there are some more key resources, the teacher playbook, which we're going to learn more about, and then the professional development modules, and the date at which those modules were given to teachers and students, where they can go in and see and continue their learning or just go back as a reference. So we've been able to, thus far, we've been able to get out in front of most of the PD that we've given over the course of the summer. We have some paraprofessional PDs we're going to be putting in here, some modules for administrators. And then as you go down, we're going to continue building out for all of our stakeholders and all of our groups. We've got some Sapphire training and some other stuff that's going to go in the clerical staff. And then some special ed training. We're going to continue building this out as we go.
Brandy, can you speak to how our teachers can access this site?
Absolutely. So if you go to Allentown, can you still see my screen? It's bringing up Allentown's website.
No.
Yeah.
It's on,
Yes.
I mean, we see the screen, but we don't see the web.
Yeah.
Oh.
I just dropped a link in there.
Is the website up?
Yes, ma'am. Don't listen to me. It's not a good Friday. I don't know what's going on.
So under
There's too many
employees,
screens in this room.
under employees, if you go down to opening of schools updates, the professional development resource is right at the top of the page.
Mhm.
And you just click on that, and to get into that site, you've got to make sure that you're logged into your Google account.
Brandy, from here, can you just go into any secondary discussion that you'd like to have regarding schedules or programs?
Sure. Where's the,
Click back on ASD emblem at the top left.
there we
Back
go.
out to the homepage.
I'm like, where's that opening? There
Yeah.
we go.
Parent University.
Is it under Parent University?
Yes,
Yeah, so the screen jumps, I realized last night,
It
it
does.
does.
so you have to wait.
There we go.
No,
If
don't
you,
click it.
yeah, our website, if you don't let the banner image load quickly enough, it jumps you to all different pages.
Click in the
Don't click it.
There we go. I got it.
Yeah, that's the one. We'll stay. still.
Sorry, everybody. I apologize. So if you go to high school, under schedule, again, just like the other schedules, this has been something that we've been working on in our teams with all the our principals working groups, and we vetted it through many of the high school teachers. But we kept with the 8-period day that we normally have in the building, but we divided the 8-period day amongst a little bit larger blocks of time to allow for breakout rooms, small group instructions for IEP and L, and for students to actually be able to work on their core instruction during the session. So it's a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 4-period day with prep worked in, lunch worked in, and then Wednesday, virtual support offered and available for all students by period with some professional development worked into the end of the day as well. So the buildings felt very strongly that the teachers needed to have the time throughout the day to really be able to dig into the rotational model and be able to offer Zoom and breakout sessions for our high school students as they're working through their course content areas.
Brandy, if you're finished, could you go back to an elementary schedule? And Jen Bryant, we have a question where someone's asking where will Lexia and Dreambox fit in to the elementary schedule?
Sure.
And if there's a
So-
different schedule you need to share.
So Lexia and Dreambox, Language Arts 2, that would be a piece in that 45 minutes. If this becomes a time period as far as live learning is concerned, you will not be doing small groups with every single student at the same time. So for example, if you have a 10 to 10, 20 small group session scheduled, that's for what, 6 participants at most if we follow sort of small group parameters. The rest of that time, that would be students who are working in other items such as some independent reading, writing and journaling. And then that last bullet speaks to working in Lexia. And what this time can also be utilized for is if you do need to have a touch point with students and perhaps do an intervention lesson that comes from Lexia. So it gives you some flexibility in terms of that time and what it is that you promote to the students. And you would really be monitoring what is the most appropriate push. So for example, if somebody is really behind in their core content offered through Lexia for ELA, you might want to promote for that day or that week that they are trying to catch up a little bit, if that's an appropriate thing for them. If they're getting more out of Lexia, then you would allow them to sort of stay in that time for Lexia. Similarly with math, you have Math 1 that's promoting that time on Accelerate, but the Math 2 session that's carved out is that. Think of this as kind of like what would be your guided math time, what would be your guided reading time, like in Language Arts 2 and Math 2, that's that rotational aspect. And while perhaps you may not have really young kids all rotating through unmonitored small breakout rooms, you would have times in which they would come on with you. And if they're not on with you for a small group instruction lesson, then that would be a time that they could be on Dreambox, that they could be on Lexia, just like you incorporate that as a station rotation in your brick and mortar classroom.
Thanks. Someone's saying that they're having trouble with the link, Melissa.
Yeah, that may be something with the Google logins. I'm not sure. I think we might need some
I
IT.
tried a bunch of links and they worked, and I did respond in the chat.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
thank you. What about the notion of pacing guides? Could one of you speak to that?
Sure. With Accelerate, there's a scope and sequence that comes with Accelerate, organized by standards of delivery. So that document can be shared out as far as that goes. And then some of the pacing or the curriculum guide that is built into documents as well that are the curriculum overview from Accelerate. So there's a K-3 curriculum overview and a 4-5 curriculum overview, and in that it takes a look at the hopeful breakdown of how far you would get each day/week to promote kids moving through the modules of instruction. So for example, ELA, the hope or the pacing would be about a lesson a day a student moves through to complete 5 lessons, which would be the equivalent of 1 module. And there's something very similar for math. Science and social studies are not quite as straightforward in that breakdown for me to share verbally like this, but that does exist in the guide, and we'll transfer that over as part of scope and sequence so you understand somewhat of the pacing that you would hopefully want to keep kids to in order to cover content.
And just to piggyback on that, Jen, at the secondary level, we spent a lot of time with teachers reviewing the courses that were within Edgenuity and matching up content for content. So we had the ability to still be able to use current pacing guides side by side with Edgenuity. So the content is set up in that way. We spent a lot of time working with teachers and department heads over the course of the month of August, ensuring that those things were aligned appropriately. So we weren't throwing everything off kilter pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Could you speak to how specialists will work at the elementary level?
Sure. Students will still have specials built into their schedule. And that is largely going to be communicated by the building level because you share specialists and they rotate. So if I'm addressing somebody who asked from an elementary level, you don't have period courses, right? Like a bell schedule, like a secondary does. So you know that brick and mortar, your specialists are always carved into a time period that floats somewhere in your day. And your building principals have worked to determine what's that internal communication document that can be shared in your building that shows you where your specialist time is for your students. And then that gets communicated out as the special individualized schedule that reflects your grade level and building so that specials are scheduled appropriately. This schedule that exists, again, is largely to communicate out for the parent perspective, those expectations of content and time. And there's a note at the top that individualized schedules will be available through building websites, through mail distribution, through sharing on Google Sites. However it is your building administration has determined that will be shared out.
And one takeaway, again, from this conversation is that we understand the idea of pacing guides and we're going to use them, but our position and our approach to the opening of schools is just to take the time that we need to get folks acclimated, our students, our teachers, our families. There are teachers and students that are tech whizzes and could go on and start moving through the material day one. There are others that it's going to take some time to become acclimated. As you move through the professional development series, there is a title, and I don't know, Jen, if you were going over those topics or sharing that. There is a session where we talk about the first 20 days. And just what that entails. And I'll just leave you some space if you want to talk about that or if there's anything you want to share.
Did you want us to transition into professional development at this time or just pick up that one piece?
Yeah, we can move into professional development at this time.
Is that one of the documents you sent me or does Brandy have that?
Yeah.
We're going to delve a bit deeper into professional development for the sake of the conversation.
The calendar one?
Yeah, I sent you two. One is elementary, one
I
is
have
second.
elementary first.
Sure.
It's opening.
Okay. So the document that Melissa is going to display for you is a September calendar. This is different than a way we've communicated past PD sessions, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One, we're obviously not doing whole group in-person sessions. So I think a change in the format of the way that this goes out, I think is a good symbolism for all of the changes. And Dr. Brown hinted at some of that, that we're trying to make as far as, offering as much as we can for students in terms of the anywhere, anytime learning. We want to also provide you with that opportunity as well, out of respect for your schedules and out of respect for your needs, and knowing your own areas of strength and your own areas of needs and wanting to pursue different sessions. However, as part of our welcome back, we have an elementary and a secondary breakdown. So beginning with the elementary that's displayed right now, you're going to see though, when we show secondary, there is a lot of crossover. Times vary, but we're replicating a lot of sessions so that you all have the tools to hopefully help begin the year feeling much more supported than obviously what was our quick transition in the spring. So as part of that, everybody, K-12 will start with convocation on Tuesday, September 1st, coming to us from Mr. Parker and the board. And then all schools beginning at 9 a.m. will move into a school faculty meeting. And time Time will vary on the length of that opening faculty meeting between elementary and secondary based on schedules. But we just wanted to let you know that there's time embedded throughout for your principals to meet, to discuss, to answer last minute questions. This is not your only opportunity to discuss what your questions may be. We're still actively communicating with principals and doing our best to provide all of the information that we possibly can, as timely as we can, as Dr. Brown mentioned. And as such, sometimes we have new updates and communications, but we're tightly bound to our principals for communicating, and we hope we've given them the time and the space to be able to turn around any last minute updates with you throughout the course of next week. So again, we will be repeating Accelerate sessions and Edgenuity sessions for anyone who was not able to take earlier in August. So you will have that opportunity. And then we have some differentiated offerings, again, through support with our partnership with Ed Elements. We have some nuts and bolts training, which is around Accelerate and Edgenuity, right? That's a platform. We want to learn how to use the platform. Lexia is a platform. Perhaps we need to learn how to use that, or Dreambox, or something else, or Unique. But Ed Elements is offering us sessions to help you sort of pull it all together and start to figure out how do I bring everything that I've learned together and turn this over to my students in the best way possible in a virtual environment. And one of those sessions that Ed Elements will work on with elementary and secondary is that session called Planning for the First 20 Days of Virtual Learning. And as such, what that is we're trying to give you the time and the space and the grace, quite honestly, for you to work with your students and begin by really building relationships and rapport. You had that time and space at the opening of school last year in a traditional environment, but you may need some supports. And how do you do that right out of the gate virtually, having never met students before? And we know that you are not cyber teachers, so we have to do our best to help build some skills for you so you feel supported and you have some less apprehension to start the year, because that's very important to us. And as such, they're going to work with you to make those plans. A big piece of rolling that out, like I said, is establishing relationships. And just like it's brick and mortar, again, it's the relationships, and you'll work on establishing routines, going over the schedule, establishing norms of communication when you're together as a group and in a small group. None of that stuff goes out the window. We still want all of those key elements of brick and mortar teaching to show up in this virtual environment. And we want you to know that we give you permission for that. We give you permission to take that time and devote those spaces to really building capacity with your students. And you also need that time with your co-teachers as well. You're going to figure out how to navigate co-teaching virtually. Some of you may have felt like in the spring you nailed it. This year you might have a new co-teacher. So we, again, want to give you the time, the space, and that opportunity to be able to work together to figure out, what does this look like? And you can begin to slowly release what goes on. And as I speak to elementary teachers, we very much have that slow opening at the elementary level. You're not even expected brick and mortar to begin guided reading instruction until October. So please know that those deadlines, those obstacles, we're not moving the goalpost on you. We're not saying you're starting September 8th and we expect to see Accelerate fully working. We expect to see Edgenuity fully working. That is not at all what we're saying. We really want you to take the time that you need to establish the rapport with your students, and to make sure that they come in with you and they come in consistently from an attendance piece, right? We want their engagement. We want to know they're okay. And we want to build that relationship. So if we are fortunate enough to come back brick and mortar, you won't feel feel like you are starting square one again with so many things, relationships shouldn't be one of them. At that point, if we're lucky enough to come back sometime this year, you need to have at least that under your belt. So I hope that you appreciate what it is that we're trying to do and communicate to you, because we wholeheartedly, genuinely want you to feel that your backs are not up against a wall to launch a virtual classroom 100% successfully day one. We're here to support you with whatever you need, and we know you will make mistakes as we have made mistakes. We expect that, and that is okay. Again, it is about the time, the space, and the grace to give each other permission to do that. And so we hope that we can communicate to you that you have that permission to go ahead and work on those things. And as part of being able to launch successfully, it is a lot of PD, perhaps more than you've been used to, but we know that it would be irresponsible of us to unleash you in your classrooms, knowing that we haven't offered you opportunities to fill some of those gaps and build those skills that you've identified in past surveys and sessions as needs to make you feel comfortable. It's all about building a comfort level for you and a repertoire of skills so that you launch successfully and can sustain successfully, because it will be difficult. You may be working from home, but it's not like kicking your feet up on the couch. So we know that and we appreciate that.
Jen, is there a date identified for when Accelerate needs to start for each subject? Do you want to respond?
Yeah.
And then maybe you could follow up with logins for Accelerate.
Yeah, I mean, I would start by echoing a lot of what Jen said. That was very well said. Have patience with yourselves, have patience with your families. I mean, our meeting today is a perfect example of the best laid plans of technology, and we have multiple screens and we're struggling with volume and with projection. So, be patient with yourselves in this new environment. This is an unprecedented situation, and we need to be there for our students. And we have these schedules designed with our students in mind to be able to support them as best we can. We have nearly 17,000 students in Allentown that have to be home for their instruction. So continue to be innovative, continue to be adaptable and flexible to their needs as we move forward. I put in the chat, the classes are scheduled to begin pacing on the 14th of September to allow some of those opening of schools expectations, relationship building, those things that Jen mentioned that you would do in a typical school year. Students will have access to the courses. They could certainly start to work on them and get ahead, but the pacing of the course won't begin till the 14th. Our deadline for getting our student and teacher.
Will, can you put that in the general chat? Because I didn't see it. The 14th?
Okay, I can put.
You might have responded privately. Then they'll have it. Okay.
Certainly.
Sorry for the interruption.
Our accounts are scheduled. Our deadline is the 1st of September. We are on pace for that deadline. We realize in another scenario, certainly to have those logins earlier would be ideal. We did have a situation as far as proposing this to the board where we had to wait for the approval of a grant to be able to fund it. Our board was flexible enough to create a special board meeting on August 13th, so this could be approved mid-month, and we could then begin to build this infrastructure. It is very detailed, the work that our IT and accountability offices are doing to be able to create reports that will feed the Accelerate program automatically. If you think about the spring with Odyssey, where every time a student would move, a new teacher or student would join, everything had to be manual. This will allow the integration to be seamless, but those files are very large and very tedious. So like I said, the deadline is the 1st. We would certainly have preferred to have it earlier, but our team is working at a breakneck speed to do in a week and a half, which would usually be over a month of an integration process.
Logins? Did you get to that?
I did.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it. Jen, the PD schedule you just went over, how will that be shared out?
So all principals have the PD schedule, elementary and secondary. They look very similar, same layout, except elementary is clearly called out in the banner part of the document to distinguish. These have been shared with principals. What we have done is we have updated. This becomes then a place that can clearly be just shared out with you, the teachers. All sessions are in CPE Tracker currently. We encourage you to register so that we accurately track your Act 48 hours. And then a few of the sessions, if pre-registration is required, that is asterisked and shown to you noted on certain sessions if they do apply to you in certain areas. So these schedules have been shared with your principals so that they can very clearly push these out to you. We've embedded the links to the sessions in the documents. And of course, obviously, if you notice anything that needs to be updated, should there be any type of mistake, please don't hesitate to communicate with either myself, Brandy, or Judy Patterson, the curriculum clerical person.
Okay.
Want me to stop sharing?
In terms of questions about how you will rotate into your buildings, 2 days versus whatever scenario you might come up with, please speak with your principal directly. Mr. Pigeon is on to speak at a high level. Mr. Pigeon, did you want to chime in? There's a question in the chat box. Someone's asking about being in the building 2 days a week versus, hold on, let me see if I can find it. Is he still on?
Yes, I am.
You want me to stop sharing and share Tony's memo?
You would have to ask him that. So the question is, if we choose to go in 2 days of the week, are we held to that weekly?
So
Or if, go
so
ahead.
typically it's going to go back to the, and yes, Melissa, you can share my memo. That's not a problem. So typically the building principals will be setting a schedule. And why we are doing that is because we're trying to maintain certain numbers within the building on a daily basis. So obviously Wednesdays are out because that's when we're going to be, the facilities team is going to be doing a deep cleaning. So if the principal says that you're scheduled to work Mondays and Thursdays, then we would expect those individuals to be there Mondays and Thursdays. And the other group would be Tuesdays and Fridays. That's typical. You know, different buildings might have different schedules worked out, but we can't really modify those because that will change the overall numbers in the building on a given day. So I hope everybody understands that. I know there's some confusion and a little bit of misunderstanding with that. So if you are going to be returning to the building to work, and again, that's your choice, you don't have to, we will set the schedule, the principals will set the schedule and ask all the folks to maintain that schedule. So hopefully that answers that question.
There's another question about, will there be a list of suggestions on how to co-teach via, I guess, or within the virtual campus? We will have some guidance documents developed, but if there's a resource that you need, we encourage you to feed it through our virtual campus working groups. So we did post that in the chat. At the elementary level, Kate Griffin is the chair of the elementary virtual campus group. Frank Derrick is the chair of the middle schools. And Jose Rosado is the chair for secondary. So if there's something you need or some concern that you have, in order to have a structured way to get that communication up to the district level, please use your virtual campus working groups so that it can be processed at the building level operationally and then fed up appropriately to district leadership. Let's see here. And Mr. Pigeon, I don't know, and I'm not trying to put you on a spot. There's a question about professional development. And the question is, are teachers expected to complete PD on their own time? And that's certainly not in my wheelhouse,
So typically the different executive directors for the different groups will be working with the principals of those groups to develop professional development time. So there will be some instances where we will ask staff to potentially get online and complete some trainings. But for the most part, for the Zoom and the virtual type of learning, most of those trainings, if not all of those trainings, should be done through the district professional development time. So those would be contractual times that you already have. And they'll be scheduled for you. There might be some, as I've shared in past, some mandated type of trainings from the Department of Education that will roll out that you might be responsible for completing. And again, those would be out of our control. So PD, you should go back to your building principals and or the executive directors of the different groups.
Okay. We're going to continue the PowerPoint. We're a little bit over. Again, any questions that you have, please feed them through your working groups. Next on our agenda after professional development is our food.
Can you guys make sure you're seeing it?
No, we're not.
You don't see it.
Our food services department is going to give you an overview of what meal distribution will look like during this period. Andrea?
Hello, everybody. I'd like to give you just a very quick scenario of what meal schedules will be, what will look like. Can everybody hear me? I would think so.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. We will be distributing meals from all of our school district sites. We will have 3 mealtime opportunities for our children or parents to pick up a meal. All we ask is that they have a student ID with them. And the meal distribution times are 7:30 to 9, 10:30 to 1:30, and 2:30 to 3:30. We adjusted the 10:30 to 1:30 just yesterday afternoon to accommodate the elementary schools and their lunch schedules. We are asking that you please support our department and remind every student on your virtual learning platform to please take a break for lunch, go to their nearest school site. They do not have to go to the school they attend. Any site nearest to where they are learning, we will accept them. We ask that they please have a student ID number, or if they send an adult or someone that is representing them, to please have their student ID number with them. We will accept that number, we will put it into our system, and we will give them a breakfast and a lunch. They will have an option of a hot lunch or a cold lunch. Are there any questions?
Andrea, can you repeat the times again for the group?
Certainly. 7:30 to 9, 10:30 to 1:30, and 2:30 to 3:30.
Right before. Okay, let's see. Where are the other sites listed? Are the sites listed anywhere?
I'm working on getting that on the website.
Andrea, are you able to see the chat?
Yes.
Okay. Can you be sure you respond to the questions related to food services there? I see a few.
In the question and answers?
No, the other one in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me close this.
How do we meet the needs of students who can only log in the PM? They miss only the Zoom meetings and school group instructions.
I cannot move through the chat. I'm trying. Can
they pick up lunch when they get breakfast?
Yes, it's combined. Breakfast and lunch is combined into one package.
Responding to the whole group, because I think you.
And we're open from Monday to Friday every day.
I'm responding to all panelists, not all panelists. Or,
Okay.
Attendees.
You need to do attendees. That's what I was trying to.
thank you.
So some of the responses we've been posting, but Will's going to repost them for everyone. So the question about STAR, Will's answering that, but yes, there is a benchmark window and we're being cognizant of the transition to virtual. But again, PDE has not relaxed any requisites or compliance pieces for LEA. So we will still be doing that. All of this food information is going to be put on the website, and Andrea is going to have to work through her chat and respond to some of the questions because we're over time for now.
Okay, no problem. And there will be a flyer on the district website. It was just updated with the new times. And the principals will have that also available to them to post on their sites.
Okay, with regard to students only attending in the evening, that's not the model. We're running our virtual campus as similarly as we can to our daytime model. If we find that there are extending circumstances or some outlier students that absolutely cannot attend during the day, we will deal with that on a case-by-case basis. But we are promoting this as a virtual campus cyber model for ASD that includes live instruction and requires attendance as we spelled out. At secondary, attendance is taken in the second period and each period thereafter, and your principals have specific information to roll out to you on how that will happen and be entered into the system. At the elementary level, attendance will be taken in the morning during morning meeting and additionally at 2 checkpoints in time during the rest of the day so that we are able to determine who's participating and who's not. This is not like our emergency stopgap long-term closure plan in March. This is a robust, it's being built to be a robust model. It is not perfect, but again, we have to tease out the details and make sure that we're all on the same page and operating from the same point of understanding. We will run our school day identical in terms of time and instructional minutes because PDE has not done what they did in March where we weren't held accountable for instructional minutes. We are still held accountable for the requisite instructional minutes for each student. So please don't think that this is going to be like the spring. I can't emphasize enough. This is not that. If it ends up being like that, a whole lot of folks are going to be in trouble. Those in earshot, those in eyeshot, those aren't in the space. This is not that. So please, let us know what else you need. Let us know what we're missing. Let us know what recommendations you have. But we are trying to work in a very structured way, which is why we have the working groups at each level. Reach out to your principals and your chair at each level. Again, Kate Griffin for elementary, Frank Derrick for middle school, and Jose Rosado for high school. That's the structure to feed this information up more quickly than us being able to convene a meeting. Have students and families been notified that accountability is different from the spring? Absolutely, and we'll continue to notify them of the expectations. That's the purpose of these parent sessions. That's the purpose of our parent working group. We have a number of parent working groups, I believe, but absolutely our parents are made aware and we will continue to educate them and bring them along. That's why our partnerships with our community agencies is so important because we can't do it all. We can't expect you all to do it all. We need to bring the entire community along with us if this virtual campus is going to work. STAR campus, STAR testing, I don't know if that will be addressed through your building principals. We're trying to make sure folks can turn on a computer
It will be.
in the beginning.
It will be.
It will be, oh, okay. But again, we're cognizant that we're going to take some time to slow walk into some of those areas. Paraprofessionals are going to be utilized. Your building principals have sat and spec'd out every single role. They started with job descriptions that they got directly from the Human Resources Department, and they all sat down and spec'd out exactly what they needed from each role, and that is being communicated out. So paraprofessionals, as you saw pointed out in the learning management system for adults, they have training and they will absolutely be utilized according to their role. There are some one-on-ones, there are some classroom paras, but all paraprofessionals and support staff will be used, maybe differently because they're supporting this virtual environment, but they absolutely will be used. Families are being notified through a number of ways. They're being notified by direct mail. They're being notified by email. They're being notified by school messengers. They're being invited to parent sessions. They're participating in parent sessions with partner groups like Allentown Parent Network. They're getting information from child care centers that they use, which was discussed at the top of our conversation. multiple ways we're trying to saturate the environment and put the information where we know our families will be, because we know that we cannot expect our families to always come to us. So a part of being inclusive and equitable is meeting people where they are, and we'll continue to do that. We have commercials running on English and Spanish. We have billboards up, and we'll change the messaging and whatever we need to communicate out to our families as time goes on. Right now, our overall push is making sure that our students get registered, and this is actually a perfect segue into this slide. Registered for the virtual campus. You might say, why do you need that? All of the students are going to be participating in virtual campus. Yes, they are, but we need to have a very tight way to ensure that every student has a Wi-Fi hotspot and a Chromebook. And in order to do that, families must certify through the registration that they have the Chromebook and the hotspot. If they do not have it, they're being directed to reach out to their principal, but we're also sending principals their specific building information every 2 weeks for which families do not have a device and which families do not have a hotspot. In addition to not just expecting that families are going to come to the buildings for whatever reason, yes, buildings are giving out their devices and hotspots, but we have also incorporated direct mailing to the homes for those families that can't get to the building. So we're trying to be, again, very inclusive and very much rooted in outreach and not just waiting for parents to come get things also. Information is provided in English and Spanish and ultimately Arabic too. Middle school Sapphire schedules are the final phases of adopting all schedules. School schedule. Oh, that's what it's
Yeah,
okay.
backfilling.
Okay, so that gets us through this slide. So if there are families or if you have knowledge that there are some needs for Chromebooks and hotspots, please again feed that to your building principals so that they're able to utilize the resources that they have. We just acquired an additional 3,500 Wi-Fi hotspots. And while we're getting them out, we're not really moving them in large numbers. So that's definitely a push right now. And I think the last time I checked, we had somewhere around maybe 6,000 Chromebooks left. I don't know if anybody can confirm that. Somewhere around there in the Hayes system. So we have devices. We're about 1,500 short of being one-to-one, and we're working on acquiring those additional 1,500. But every student should have a device, not just the household having a device. And let me clarify, every student should have a Chromebook. Every household should have a hotspot. So we get clear on what we have and what it's for. A Chromebook for every student, a hotspot for those households that need it. Last slide. So here are our next step as we close, and we're definitely over time, so I apologize, but this was good conversation that we needed to have as you begin to start your school year next week. Our next steps are to host our citywide Child Care Center collaboration. That's the collaboration where we will bring together those child care centers. We'll share our information and schedules with them. We'll make sure that those child care centers that are eligible to feed our students are absolutely on the schedule and prepared to receive meals for our students. We did host our virtual town hall today, and thank you. How many did we have participate?
It looks like at max, we were at about 616.
We thank all 616 of you for being flexible. Again, the first day, Monday, Zoom was out, and then the second day, we wanted to make sure that we had answers, so we postponed it until today. So thank you all for spending some time with us, asking your very thought-provoking questions, and giving us information and providing feedback that we need. We'll continue our outreach and informational sessions for our parents and our community, and understand that there's no silver bullet for parent and family engagement. This will be an ongoing, continuous effort. It will be viral, if you will. You'll hear things coming out of special ed, academics, out of ESOL, out of the Allentown Parent Network, out of every space that we can push our information out to our families to make sure that they're as informed as we can be. We are all looking forward to our virtual convocation on September 1st, gosh, yes, that too. September 1st. There's a lot of excitement brewing in the air. Melissa's been working very hard with our vendor on this event. So we'll look forward to welcoming you back properly on the 1st. We'll continue our device and Wi-Fi distribution. We're continuing to acquire PPE because we know that we have some teachers that absolutely want to get in the buildings, and we want to make sure they have that opportunity, but that they have the opportunity to do that within the safety conditions we've been talking about. Lastly, just as I mentioned at the top of our conversation, the special ed program was highlighted at the board meeting last night. Going forward, each meeting, we will update our board and our community on what virtual campus looks like for specific programs. So for our ESOL program, they will be highlighted on September 10th, as well as our LCTI program. The rest of the schedule will fold out as we move forward. So again, thank you for your flexibility, your patience. We will get out to you the link to the learning management system and make sure it works if we haven't already. Information on the pacing guides within the educational platforms will be shared out. Mr. Sang, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I was responding to the chat question.
The information on Edgenuity pacing guides and things of that nature will be shared out.
Edgenuity is accessible within your individual account for the classes that are tied to you.
No.
And that will be forthcoming for Accelerate as we generate those accounts.
Right. Your Zoom login information and accounts you will have by September 1, as well as the Accelerate logins as Mr. Sang spoke to. Do we owe anything else? Let me see. I don't know that the learning management system for adults is supposed to show students, is it?
It's not for students.
Yeah, well, in Edgenuity, we did also do integration so that it would be manual this year running through Clever. You should have access to your courses as an educator, but you won't see your teachers just yet, or your students just yet.
So that's for Edgenuity.
Yes.
So that's not for our professional development learning.
Yeah, the way I read the question, I think they were referring to the learning management system as Edgenuity.
Yeah, so for Edgenuity, someone's saying they're not showing courses. New Zoom accounts are using the ones we already have. New Zoom accounts, because we want you to have those features that we just showed on the slide that isn't there now, but the technology slide. We'll send this PowerPoint out to you all as well. Yeah, I'm sorry. So yeah, anything else before we go?
All right.
All right, we're going to close. Is there anything from the academic team as we close, or anyone else? If not, thank you again, and we're looking forward to seeing you Tuesday morning. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
People are still saying there's no courses.
Thanks, everyone.